Troy Zales, as this is the ACC on ESPN. We are inside the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill as the defending champs, number 5 North Carolina, playing host to Wofford with all the big names in the house, including jolly old St. Nick himself has arrived. Alongside Chris Patola, I'm John Brickley. Glad to have you with us. You go back to what happened just a few days ago on Sunday. North Carolina had a rally to beat Tennessee, despite the fact they only won in the last second. 91 seconds total. How'd they do it?
Well, they have 3 veteran guards who are the tip of the spear for this North Carolina team. They galvanize what I think has the ability to be an outstanding team defensively. They get after the ball, they are quick in rotations, and then they made all the big plays late offensively. Barry, Pinson, and then Kenny Williams came up huge with a shot that put that game away. When you have 3 veteran guards like North Carolina does, it's going to take you a long way.
And it plays into the narrative for Kenny Williams, who has had a breakout season. Meanwhile, Joel Berry, 21 points in the victory Sunday against Tennessee. His 3rd 20-point game of the season for the Tar Heels, looking to improve to 11-1 on the season. Bill Covington Jr., Mike Eads, Ted Valentine are officials as we are underway, and North Carolina takes over the opening possession.
Wofford plays primarily man-to-man, but they haven't played talent quite like North Carolina has on that offensive side of the ball.
Bounce pass inside, taken away, so a turnover on the first possession of the game for North Carolina. A Wofford team out of the SoCon, winners of 4 in a row. And the man to spotlight for Wofford's offense, number 3, Fletcher McGee, one of the top 3-point shooters in the country.
And Kenny Williams starts on McGee. And a good start there from Cameron Jackson. With Carolina's size at the basket, Wofford goes right onto the block to Jackson. And a nice hook from him.
First touch for Luke May, averaging a double-double on the season.
And well defended by Stump. Again, giving up a lot of size to May. Just stayed big, tried to stay as tall as he could, and bodied up nicely. A lot of what Wofford wants to do is to get the ball to number 3. Kenny Williams guarding him. He's really face guarding him. No help from Williams.
Jackson for Wofford has scored the first 4 points.
Wofford plays at one of the slowest tempos in the country. They play about 19 seconds of possession. So if you're North Carolina, you've got to stay locked in. 2 post moves from Cameron Jackson.
Here's Williams, top of the arc, knocks down the 3, and North Carolina on the board.
How confident is Kenny Williams playing offensively? Hit that big shot to close that game off against Tennessee. I think he's their best defender, but when he can make shots, takes this offense to another level. Williams shooting
A team best 55% from beyond the arc. Here's McGee from the corner, and he knocks it down.
He makes more tough shots than anybody I have ever seen on tape. He'll take shots at all angles. He'll take shots going away from the basket.
And Luke May on the other end for North Carolina with the answer.
There's that secondary break from North Carolina that they have run for ages. That back screen lob over the top.
Stump had to give it off, and a turnover as North Carolina 10-1 on the season, ranked 5th in the country, but the story for Wofford's all Ben McGee this season.
How about this shot? Again, Theo Pinson, you're biting on the initial shot fake because you have to, and that's what McGee does. He has made shots over length, hit that big shot to win the game over Georgia Tech a few weeks ago.
One of 5 players in Division I, averaging at least 24 points on the season. And a turnover as Pinson tried to connect with Barry. 2 early turnovers for North Carolina. Look at Mike Young in his 16th season with Wofford. 4 NCAA tournament appearances. The winningest coach in program history. Storm Murphy at the point. dump. The great vision of Fine Jackson.
What a pass. Again, they're going to be very deliberate. They're going to run their stuff well into the shot clock.
Wofford has knocked down their first 4 shots, and they forced the turnover. McGee fouled on his way with the shot. He'll go to the free throw line.
Well, this is exactly the start you would want if you're Wofford. Turnovers on the other end for North Carolina, and you get layups from Cameron Jackson to start the game. Look at that delivery, just a drop off, and the backside help from Kenny Williams a little late. And again, a front line for Wofford that is outmatched with size and length by Carolina's. You get 3 buckets early from the 6'8", 245 Cameron Jackson.
Meanwhile, as good as McGee has been from beyond the arc, he's even more impressive from the line. Now a perfect 31 of 31 this season.
I'm telling you, John, I have never seen numbers like Fletcher McGee's this year. He is shooting 57% from 3, and he's taken over 93s this year.
And a standing ovation from those in the Dean Smith Center as Cameron Johnson, making his season debut for the Tar Heels, suffered a torn meniscus, missed the first month or so of the season, now back in the lineup. How does he change the dynamic for North Carolina?
Well, he gives him another shooter, he gives him another veteran guard, and he gives him a little bit of size and length. I wouldn't be surprised as he gets healthier. They will play small quite a bit. You can play Cameron Johnson or Theo Pinson at that 4, and Luke May at the 5. Be a heck of a lineup.
And the over-the-back call going against North Carolina. Johnson, the transfer from Pitt.
And he's weathered the ACC storm. You know, we were talking to Roy Williams earlier today. He said, look, Cameron Johnson gave us 24 last year when we played against Pittsburgh. Just got to get his legs under him, get healthy. He'll fit right in.
Murphy off the mark on the 3. And look at Johnson going after the loose ball, taken away by Murphy. McGee firing off a 3, way off the mark.
And a good closeout there from Barry. On those scattered plays, you've got to identify McGee right away.
Foul underneath the basket gets us to our first media timeout. Wofford with a 6-point advantage on the defending champs.
ESPN's Wofford's Fletcher McGee would rather shoot with a hand in his face than eat when he's hungry. He makes more difficult shots than anybody I've ever seen. This was against Georgia Tech. Look at this, flying away from the basket. This was the game winner. Pulling up from deep. Wofford beats Georgia Tech by 3 a couple weeks ago. Fletcher McGee, let me put it to you this way. Steph Curry set the NCAA record in 2008 for made three-point field goals in a season at 162. Fletcher McGee is on pace to beating that, which is remarkable.
Garrison Brooks coming out of the timeout for North Carolina with the dunk. I think his work ethic is incredible. In terms of Fletcher McGee, will stay until the bus leaves and then will not actually wash his practice jersey with everyone else. He'll actually go to the hotel sink and do it. That's how dedicated he is to this sport.
That's also pretty dirty.
Well, yeah, that too.
But he is a worker.
North Carolina in an early 4-point deficit as May able to draw contact underneath.
Garrison Brooks just moving without it. Again, a nice little pick and roll. How about the delivery from Cameron Johnson, fresh onto the floor. And there is Johnson. Again, a veteran guy who will give them so much versatility.
May to the free throw line, and the added value that Cam Johnson brings, certainly in the front court for Roy Williams. They wanted to see how he was during warm-ups, practicing with that torn meniscus that he had to have a knee surgery on, was out since November 10th. But likely anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes he could play tonight.
Well, he warmed up and suited up against Tennessee, and then obviously didn't get into that game. But Roy Williams telling us during the shoot-around today, if Cam Johnson felt good, he was going to play him.
Nathan Hoover off the bench for Wofford comes up with the charge. As the Hall of Famer Roy Williams, 408 career wins for North Carolina. And the defense.
And it helps to have guards like this making plays like this. I think this North Carolina team has the ability to be an outstanding defensive team. And it starts with those 3 veteran guards. They are the tip of the spear for this North Carolina team.
Barry trying to go reverse. There's May. And Jackson gets the loose ball. Wofford, who has started off this game knocking out 4 of their first 7 shots, having won 4 straight, including that victory over Georgia Tech.
Luke May has like bear claws for hands. Anything in his area or outside, he is snatching up.
Williams with the floater in the lane for North Carolina, and this one ties it up at 11. A 6-0 run for North Carolina. And Chris, you're a big fan of what Kenny Williams brings to the table.
Well, I do. I love his defense. I mean, I think he's their best defender. And nothing more illustrative of that than he being on McGee tonight. He's got really good length, but he's starting to feel himself offensively. I mean, that shot at the end of Tennessee, first of all, it was a tough shot. And then in that moment to make that, it's a big step for Kenny Williams.
Hoover can't get the shot off. Nice job defensively by North Carolina with the shot clock violation.
And here's where Kenny Williams and Theo Pinson, I think, can be really good, is just driving that ball to the basket, using their size and length, and making plays. And when you have 2 guys, May, Brooks, you come off with Sterling Manley, those guys then clean up the offensive glass. That's been the formula for North Carolina for a long time, but certainly the last 2 seasons.
Kenny Williams, who had to miss 18 games last year because of injury, 3rd on the team in scoring. For 3, and he'll go to the free throw line.
Well, North Carolina's had what I call an old school progression. They're doing it the way it used to be done a long time ago in the ACC. Look at these veterans. You got 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and that is what has characterized North Carolina's teams the last 2 years. And you know, that's how you play in 2 national titles. You win one of them. It's nice to be old. Get old and stay old.
I still don't know that feeling just yet. Williams, who is a 79% free throw shooter, but going back to another player, maybe not getting so much of the headlines, Theo Pinson, maybe one of the most underrated defenders, not only in the ACC, but in the country.
Yeah, and some of that's just applying himself. I mean, he does a lot of different things. I mean, you go to that Tennessee game the other night, he had 7 points, 8 assists, and 9 rebounds. I mean, that's just kind of plugging the holes where they need to be plugged.
8-0 run for North Carolina. Derek Brooks, the lone senior on this Wofford roster, coming through with the 3.
Said coming in, Wofford's going to have to make some threes tonight.
Rebound by Sterling Manley, and he'll go to the free throw line for a chance at the 3-point play.
What a story Sterling Manley is. I mean, I think of all these big guys for North Carolina, he has the biggest ceiling, the highest upside. Just carves out his position there in the offensive glass. This is a guy who broke both his legs in high school. He didn't play most of his sophomore year, didn't play all of his junior year, came back as a senior. And so he's a little bit underrated coming out of high school. I think he's a steal for North Carolina.
Manley, who along with Garrison Brooks, Roy Williams told us in today's shoot-around, there was signs of promise with these 2 young men, 2 talented freshmen that can make strong contributions down the stretch. McGee, the give up to Jackson, who can't capitalize, but does draw contact on the foul.
Jackson, one of those guys, he's 6'8", but in the SoCon, he's got a big body, and that's the attention that Fletcher McGee draws. When Fletcher McGee is coming off of those curl moves, those down picks, he's going to draw 2 defenders. And Cameron Jackson just plays without the ball and gets himself to the foul line.
The problem for Jackson has actually been staying in games. He's fouled out 3 times, and in yesterday's practice, Coach Young, I've never seen this bench a player for foul trouble during a practice scrimmage. So Wofford and the defending champs in North Carolina evened up at 15 apiece. North Carolina having won their last 5 in a row. And Barry's going to go to the free throw line. Mentioned the Hall of Famer Roy Williams, 408 career wins with North Carolina. Has seen a lot of promise, a lot of intrigue with this team this year. And he spoke about those veteran guards that he has in terms of Barry along with Pinson. They could be the true catalyst down the stretch for North Carolina.
Well, think about the fortune you have if you're a North Carolina fan with the 2 head coaches of your respective basketball programs. Sylvia Hatchell gets win 1,000 yesterday, and Roy Williams is the coach of your men's team. That's pretty darn good.
North Carolina offensively has figured things out in the early stages against Wofford tonight, scoring on their last 6 possessions.
Part of it is they stopped turning it over. 3 early turnovers to start the game. They can score if they have the ball.
Donovan Thiem Love off the bench for Wofford. Shot clock down to 5 for McGee. Launches a deep 3, and there's Jackson unable to capitalize.
Those are the layups. If you're Wofford, Jackson's got to make that.
Pinson, the feed to Barry for 3, and he gets it to go.
And those are the killers. You're Wofford coming on the road, trying to win here in the Dean Dome. You've got to make those layups on that offensive board, because on the other end, Carolina's going to make you pay.
Joel Barry closing in on 200 career, made 3-pointers. That one gives North Carolina a 5-point lead. Here's Johnson, the steal. And he'll go to the free throw line.
He is a killer. Joel Barry. He will break your heart in other areas while you handle the basketball. I would also like to point out he's chewing gum. And for somebody who can't walk and chew gum at the same time like myself, I'm very impressed by that addition to the drill there by Joel Barry.
Meanwhile, Cam Johnson to the free throw line. Coming back from a torn meniscus for Coach Roy Williams. First action of the season for the Tar Heels. The transfer from Pitt has been an active participant in this first half for North Carolina. As Johnson takes a seat for Roy Williams and the Tar Heels, who are on a 17-4 run on Wofford.
North Carolina just doesn't let you run your stuff. There's the run and jump out of the timeout.
The freshman Jalen Felton coming off the bench.
They're going to, deny passing wings, deny one pass away, put pressure on the basketball. They're just going to not let you run your stuff. And then they've got rim protectors at the basket.
And another shot clock violation, forcing the turnover against Wofford.
I'll tell you, one of the themes of the last 2 years is that this North Carolina team has become much better defensively by the end of their seasons. They've been exceptional in the NCAA tournament on that defensive end.
Felton, the miscommunication with Playtech off the bench. And bowl season rolls on Thursday night with the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. The Temple Owls battling the 8-4 FIU Panthers at the Trop in Tampa. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, and available on the ESPN app. Foul underneath the basket. What do you make so far, Chris, of the job North Carolina has done defensively against Fletcher McGee?
I think they've put length on him and athletes on him. The other thing you do when you want to defend a shooter or a good scorer is you make them defend on the other end. And so they have pressed that matchup. Whoever Fletcher McGee is guarding, that Carolina offensive player has driven him and forced him to guard.
Here's McGee, the floater off the mark. Seemingly just no consistency with a shot. Seven-point lead for North Carolina as we approach the midway point of this first half. Shot clock down to 6 for May. Launches the 3. That one off the mark for the junior. Here's Murphy from the elbow. Gets the jumper to go.
That's a rare quick shot from Wofford, but they get the double high ball screen there, and Murphy comes off shooting.
Jalen Felton, who's Uncle Raymond, part of the North Carolina team that won it all back in 2005. Lost the handle, but it went off of Wofford, so it will stay with the Tar Heels. A Wofford program located in South Carolina. Mike Young, who has led this program for 16 years, 4 NCAA tournament appearances. Just under 1,700 of an enrollment. 3rd smallest school in Division I.
How about Huffman there on the offensive glass? What a monster he is. 6'10", 250. Coach Williams telling us today he's actually their strongest guy from 3 feet and in. Game's going a little too fast for him now. He's behind the curve a little bit, but he will be a good player down the road. You can't teach that size. You better bring a pork chop, because that's a lot of meat right there on the foul line.
As much depth as there is in the starting lineup in terms of a veteran presence, there's a young, youthful group of freshmen, including Brandon Huffman coming off the bench for Roy Williams. There's that great balance of upperclassmen and underclassmen between these two programs.
Well, that's where the freshmen in this program need to meet the standards of the veterans. You can't coach to the young guys. They got to lift their games to the veterans.
Foul's going to go against Playtech. That'll be his first.
It's amazing. This is a North Carolina team. I mean, you go Isaiah Hicks, Kennedy Meeks, Tony Bradley lead the program. That's 20 rebounds a game. There are a lot of teams don't even average as a team 20 rebounds in a game. And yet here they are back again, different front line, and yet they're still an outstanding defensive and offensive rebounding team. And it just goes to put, you are what you emphasize. I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you are what you emphasize, and rebounding is a big part of who Roy Williams is and what he wants his programs to be.
And part of that has been the emergence of Luke May, a walk-on coming off last year's heroics against Kentucky in the Elite Eight with the game winner. And then this year, averaging a double-double, including over 10.5 rebounds per game. Give and go, and there's May. He'll be called for the offensive foul.
Well, a heads-up play. That's in scouting from Derek Brooks. I mean, he read that play all the way. And to step in on Luke May, I mean, that's a really good help side defensive play by Derek Brooks. And again, that is done in the film session. That's done in the walkthrough. That's a kid understanding, a senior understanding scouting and what's coming.
Stump floater in the lane and gets it to drop. An answer for Wofford. And a turnover forced by the Terriers. Give credit to Mike Young in this Wofford program. We asked him about this environment, the Dean Smith Center. Would it be too much for his team to handle? And a 3 off the mark gives possession to North Carolina. Quite possibly one of the best names in all of college basketball, Storm Murphy.
Well, you've got Storm Murphy and Fletcher McGee on the same team. Feel like we should be on Mulberry Street.
And let's not forget Donovan Thien Love as well off the bench. Under 8 minutes to go, North Carolina only with a 2-point advantage. Benson long range. North Carolina has gone cold. Over 3 minutes without a field goal, yet they lead by 2. Still to come, the newest member of the 1,000 win club has powder blue attached to her name. We're back after this break. Division I basketball coach to win 1,000 games on the same night that Gino Auriemma for UConn also captured his 1,000th win as well. A great honor and a great milestone reach for Sylvia Hatchell, Mike Krzyzewski as well. Pat Summitt, the all-time leader with 1,098 victories. And I thought it was interesting, Chris, about Gino. He could have lost his next 50 games and still would have been the fastest coach to 1,000 wins.
I can't even fathom 1,000 wins. I mean, think about, Sylvia Hatchell is a woman who has fought cancer. She's got 1,000 wins. I mean, it's remarkable. And to have two coaches hit 1,000 on the same night, I mean, the odds of that.
It's almost like winning Powerball.
It's almost like Joel Berry chewing gum and doing those drills he was doing earlier. Just hard to imagine that's possible.
It's just must-see video. I still can't comprehend doing that. With a tennis ball, no less. Meanwhile, Roy Williams inching closer to 1,000 wins, 826. 408 of them with North Carolina. As Trevor Stump to the free throw line, who has inserted himself into the starting lineup for Mike Young. What do you make of the performance by Wofford in this first half?
Well, what's incredible is, I mean, this is a team that averages 11 threes a game. We thought tonight if they were going to compete, they were going to have to make threes. They've manufactured points, be it at the foul line, be it Cameron Jackson on the interior. And they've defended.
And this with McGee held to only 5 points in this first half.
That's what I mean. They have manufactured points, and their defense, they've worked hard on that end to make it tough for Carolina, especially in the paint.
Ball bouncing off of North Carolina going to Wofford. That'll be the 7th turnover for the Tar Heels. Both these teams on winning streaks. Wofford on a 4-game win streak where they're averaging 81 points per game in that win streak. That included the victory at home against Georgia Tech. And for North Carolina, 5 in a row with the victory back on Sunday against Tennessee, down to the wire as Brooks unable to capitalize. Berry going coast to coast to get the layup.
He is one of the best at that in America. Downhill, he is either scoring or getting fouled.
Joel Berry, who missed part of the season opener because of a broken hand injury that he suffered while playing a video game with Theo Pinson, and has come back strong. That game against Stanford really changed the dynamic for Berry. And coming up on SportsCenter after the DXL Frisco Ball on ESPN, we'll tell you who Dabo Swinney is using to motivate his team as they get ready for Alabama. Plus Houston trying to make it 15 in a row, and how Ezekiel Elliott's return to the Cowboys will make a difference for head coach Jason Garrett on Sunday against the Seahawks. All coming up on SportsCenter with John Anderson and Nicole Briscoe.
You mentioned the injury to Berry. In addition, Cam Johnson. I mean, one of the silver linings of that is allowed other guys to get minutes and play extended minutes. Now, you assume Coach Williams going to shrink his rotation here as they get into conference play, but that is one of the benefits of those guys being hurt, is other guys had to step up.
North Carolina, who was able to weather the storm with that injury to Berry. Their only loss of the season came against Michigan State in the championship game of the PK 80. But since then, 5 straight wins, and yet battle-tested here tonight with Wofford as Penson able to get on the board.
Look at this. Well defended. Nice job by McGee to get it out of there.
Shot clock to 9 for Nathan Hoover. Second behind McGee in three-point shooting for Wofford. Hoover's got to throw it up. Pegram there for the rebound, but taken away by Berry. Here's May driving right through the defense, but the putback by Brooks.
That's North Carolina rebounding 37% of their misses. Led the country in that last year. They're only 8th this year.
Here's McGee, who silences the crowd momentarily. He's now got 7. Williams, the 12-footer off the mark. Stump on the mismatch with May. Pegram with the offensive rebound. Murphy knocks down the 15-foot jumper.
And that's the other thing Wofford's done. They've offensive rebounded. Done a nice job this half, extending possessions, and a rare open look for Murphy.
Brooks off the feed from Barry.
Nicely done by Brooks. Was patient, took his time, and got to that left shoulder, which he loves.
And a timeout taken with a 5-point lead for North Carolina from Chapel Hill.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pizza Hut, the best pizza delivery deal. Order today.
Shots to keep you honest. They're a hard team to play against.
A great challenge for North Carolina with their defensive discipline.
All right, that's coming up at the half. Rick, back to you.
All right, Ravi, thank you very much. Notorious for Seth. I think that might be the highlight of the night. That sweater, that's a statement sweater.
I put that on Jay, Will, and Ravi. Friends don't let friends wear that sweater.
Meanwhile, North Carolina with Barry coming out of the timeout with a head of steam.
You can't throw anything at that guy that he has not seen. This is a senior who scored 20 points in both national championship games. And look at the creativity through traffic. A delicious shiftiness from Mr. Barry. I have enjoyed watching him, man. He can play the point guard position, the toughest position in the game of basketball. Big guys will tell you differently.
And he's nearly a lock at the free throw line. The jinx there was 90% at the free throw line. Misses, but North Carolina continues to surge in the latter portion of this first half. If you're Wofford here, Chris, how do you play the last 3+ minutes?
Like they have. Again, you know, get the shot that you want. They are so deliberate on that end. They take about 19 seconds on average of possession. And the thing that Carolina's doing is they are making these shooters be drivers, be dribblers of the basketball. They're trying to take away their space to limit those threes we've talked about. The thing is, Wofford's done a nice job getting the ball to the basket, and they've offensive rebounded in this first half.
Including Matthew Pegram, the junior out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. That last foul going against Pinson, that'll be his second. And Mike Young, who has one of the youngest teams in the country. He's got 10 underclassmen. Only Auburn and Kentucky have a younger team in Division I. And he even said in that victory against Georgia Tech, that was a point where he saw where this team was. Were they underrated, overrated, or hitting expectations?
Yeah, they're a good team. I mean, they're going to be, I think the Southern Conference is going to be good this year. But Wofford's going to have a shot because, again, they have a guy in McGee who could go off for 40 on any given night. They've got really good guard play out of the freshman Murphy. And then Cameron Jackson, who we've seen in flashes in this half. That's a big body in the Southern Conference. It's a big body anywhere, frankly. But certainly in that conference.
Meanwhile, McGee just held to 7 points, averages 24 on the year. Jackson front iron. May, the hook shot off the mark.
I love it, though. Luke May goes right to work. There is no wasted motion in Luke May's game. Does all his work early so that when he catches, he's either shooting it or passing it.
McGee with a great jumper to answer for Wofford, who's within 3. Here's May again, blocked partially by Jackson, who stares down May on his way up court. A chance to tie it on this possession for Wofford. Williams, the give off to Playtech, open for 3. And the over the back call. And that is going to go against Robinson.
Pegram's played nice for them, man. He's a few offensive boards there, a nice challenge on the defensive glass. And this is that's SoCon. You know, Furman's, I think, going to have a really good team this year. We saw East Tennessee the other night had a huge lead on Xavier. So it's a competitive conference. And again, with the way that Wofford shoots the basketball, controls tempo, and they have a guy like McGee, as young as they are, they're going to have a shot to compete.
And Wofford opens up conference play against UNC Greensboro.
Of course, UNC Greensboro beat NC State the other day. So, I mean, it's a good conference this year.
Pegram, the junior, 6'11", 250. And a 6-0 run now by Wofford to enter North Carolina.
And Pegram with the wonderful auburn beard. Look at that thing. That thing is glowing.
From one man that's got the facial hair.
Absolutely. Respect, my friend.
Barry trying to work it down low, gives it off to Williams, who is blocked by Jackson. Williams slow to get up. McGee on the other end. Can't find his rhythm from beyond the arc. And a turnover for North Carolina. Make that now 8 for the Tar Heels in this first half.
And that's been a killer. And some of them, a lot of them unforced. Here's this block. What a play. And how about the help side this half from Wofford? Shrinking the floor, bringing help when Carolina challenges that paint.
Williams going to take a seat. He came up a little bit hurt off the block by Jackson.
He does hit his head. Man, that does not feel good. And he's going to go back. Yeah, that did not look good.
And that's key scoring production off the court for Roy Williams. How about McGee almost going reversal? Playtech and Jackson with another block. McGee, are you kidding me? How about this Wofford team that is going toe-to-toe with the defending national champs? May cannot capitalize.
And it's been that kind of half. Turnovers, and they've had about 3 or 4 missed layups, wide open layups.
About a 4-second difference between game clock and shot clock. Jackson muscles his way in. Chance for North Carolina. Barry at the buzzer. And Wofford will take a 1-point lead into the half on the defending national champs. Who saw this coming by Wofford with Fletcher McGee? 11 points in the first half to lead the way for Wofford. As North Carolina goes 0 for their last 8 to end the first half. The block by Jackson leads to McGee on the other end for Wofford. The 1-point lead as we send you back to the half with Ravi, Jay, Will, and Seth.
Brick, thank you. Welcome into this Ales halftime report. What a game. 1 point, 34-33. Great defense by Wofford. We'll talk about that in a moment. Duke, they played good defense tonight, too, and they had no problem with Evansville.
Yeah, Marquise Bolden with his first double-double. Marvin Bagley with another double-double. Duke really came out and played defensively with the sense of urgency that Coach K wanted them with this game.
Yeah, they forced 21 turnovers in this game. Think about coming into this game, they were 310th in turnovers forced.
Bagley alley-oop. The offensive star of the game wasn't Bagley. It was one of the guys who also plays down front. Not seeing him here because the other thing that Coach K did was he used everybody. Wendell Carter goes for 27 in that game. He was outstanding, right?
Really talented. I think he's one of the most underrated players. You hear so much about Bagley, but if you want to get a bucket on the post, you give the ball to Wendell Carter.
They were just, they got after it.
For the start of the second half from Chapel Hill, Wofford a 34-33 lead on the defending national champs in North Carolina. Alongside Chris Patola, I'm John Brickley. If I told you before this game that Fletcher McGee, one of the top three-point shooters in the country, would not have a made three, and Wofford would lead by 1 at the break, you'd say what?
Well, I'd say that you're crazy, but, you know, you may still be otherwise. But, look, they've been tough. I mean, they have come here for a fist fight against North Carolina, and they haven't shot it well, but they've done all those toughness things that you have to do on the road. They've gotten some block shots. They've protected their paint in their basket. They've been real stout defensively. McGee's got 11 points, didn't shoot it great, but got this layup to end the half. And then they've gone to the offensive glass to extend possessions. 4 offensive boards in that half. That was a bucket off of Pegram's offensive board. So they haven't, again, shot it well, but they have really toughed it out here.
A relatively even first half. A combined 3 three-pointers among Wofford and North Carolina for the Tar Heels that ended the first half 0 of 8 from the field. And in fact, for Roy Williams and the Tar Heels, first time they have trailed at half at home this season. North Carolina having won 23 straight at home. That is on the line tonight with Wofford, a 1-point advantage to begin this second half.
And I think, too, if you're Roy Williams, 8 turnovers and missed layups. I mean, just opportunities at your basket and in your offense that you gave away.
Derek Brooks, the senior, with 8 on the shot clock. Mismatch with May, who swatted that one away.
A little toughness here, and there's a burst here from North Carolina. Again, you go back to the way this game started. 3 quick turnovers. North Carolina not as engaged offensively, and there's McGee right out of the locker room knocking down a 3.
Fletcher McGee with his first made 3 of the night. Averages just under 5 per game. Tops in the nation. And as we have seen, especially in that Georgia Tech game, McGee can hit it from anywhere on the floor. Jackson in trouble. Fans wanted a traveling call, but how about Wofford? 5 quick points to begin this second half. Williams off to Brooks, who gets the bucket and the foul.
Again, Wofford's defense, they really don't extend much outside that 3-point line, so they forced in this game North Carolina to have to move the basketball laterally to create scoring opportunities, and there Brooks does a nice job playing off.
And for North Carolina, that is their first point since the 3:42 mark of the first half. And as you can tell, my basketball skills are not that great.
Well, we never thought you had a good pair of hands. I've always thought you had 2 ping pong paddles
You're
for
the
hands.
coach. Come on, you got to give me some coaching technique. Left open is Stump for 3. That one rattled in and out. Great ball movement by North Carolina leads to a May open three from the corner and an over the back call. And May, who has struggled tonight, 1 of 11. What's been his biggest issue, Chris?
Well, he's given up some opportunities that he had, and Wofford has defended him well. Again, I give Mike Young a lot of credit. We were at their practice yesterday. They drilled and drilled and drilled this North Carolina secondary break. They have been all over it.
May, who's been averaging a double-double, has seen a 14-point increase from his freshman year.
And look at this, just sloppy turnovers.
That's 9 for North Carolina. McGee, front iron, and Williams with the rebound. Barry nearly picked his pocket, and May, swatted away by Pegram, will stay with North Carolina.
I'll tell you what, you can't play this game in a tuxedo. And right now, I mean, again, Wofford is challenging North Carolina at every turn, and that's a foul. And I think that's a foul.
Offensive rebound, tap back to Barry. Open for three. McGee, long range.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? There's a reason why this guy is one of the best in the nation in three-point shooting. 17 for McGee, and it's the largest lead of the game for Wofford at 7. And they're going to call McGee for the reach-in.
Fletcher McGee knows he's shooting it before he even catches it. And he has limitless range. You can't go under that screen if you're Kenny Williams. I know you think he's too deep, but when he gets off the bus, Fletcher McGee is thinking about making threes. And so you have got to be over the top on that.
Shooting 58% from beyond the arc. Cassius Winston of Michigan State, only better in the nation at that category. North Carolina with 5 to work with. Barry, fader. No, but he'll go to the free throw line.
What a silly foul by Thiem Love. No love for that defensive play. I mean, you force Barry into a tough shot. Falling away from the basket, and to foul him on that, just not a smart play by the sophomore.
Second foul for Thiem Love as Barry nearly 90% from the free throw line this season. Mentioned the injury with the broken right hand that he suffered back in late October. Came out with a vengeance versus Stanford. Had that 29-point performance as he knocks down both free throws. Again, long range, McGee, he knocks it down. "57 straight games in double digits for Fletcher McGee." As Williams with the answer for North Carolina.
Somebody's got to take up the challenge on Fletcher McGee. Been largely anonymous for casual college basketball fans. He is putting his name in neon lights. Here he is again.
Off the screen. And Barry jumps high for the rebound. Great vision as Brooks was fouled.
You are anonymous until you do something in a big spot. And this is a big spot for Wofford and Fletcher McGee. You better find that man. In time, Fletcher McGee doesn't need any of that. All of these these shots, he's got length and a hand in his face, and he is cooking, folks. Look at the difficulty on these shots, but he has done this. This is not an aberration. This is a guy who practices these kinds of shots and is comfortable taking them and has the blessing of his head coach to take those types of shots. And here he is having an unbelievable night here in Chapel Hill.
His 9th 20-point game of the season, scoring 9 of the last 11 for Wofford. And Mike Young comparing him almost to a Steph Curry-esque type of performance from beyond the arc.
He's on pace. Again, in 2008, Steph Curry made 162 threes that year. He averaged 4.5 threes a game. Fletcher McGee is on pace for that. He's averaging 4.7 threes a game.
And he's got 3 of them tonight. More importantly, Wofford has a 5-point lead on North Carolina. And Stump coming out of the break for Wofford.
And McGee draws so much attention when he's moving and when he catches that it draws all the eyeballs of the defense. Stump there just playing off.
As May able to draw the foul. That's going to be the 4th on Trevor Stump, the redshirt sophomore out of Plainfield, Illinois. You got Fletcher McGee, you got Storm Murphy, you got Trevor Stump, you got Donovan Thiem Love.
You're halfway to a Leave It to Beaver episode.
I think you just dated yourself. Well, Roy Williams told us at shoot-around today when we asked about Wofford, he made it clear. He said, Wofford scares me to death. And right now, the Tar Heels trailing by 7. McGee, long-range floater, nothing but nylon. Largest lead of the game for Wofford at 9.
This is unbelievable.
And how about this, the turnover? Jackson with the two-handed flush. Cam Johnson with the 3 to answer for North Carolina.
That's a big shot.
Cam Johnson bringing new life to the Dean Smith Center. Back from a torn meniscus. And Jackson with the bucket and the foul to answer for Wofford.
You know, what Fletcher McGee has done tonight has been loud. But I'll tell you, Cameron Jackson has been immense. Going up against this Carolina front line, and Barry must have been in that restricted area. Cameron Jackson has had all fight. Look at the reaction. You can't play this game in a tuxedo, and he came here tonight for a fight. And it started with his 3 early post-ups to start this game.
How about the performance tonight for Cam Jackson, the junior out of Virginia? 13 points, 6 rebounds, and another turnover for North Carolina. I'll say this, Chris, for the 3rd smallest school in Division I, they're making a big statement tonight in Chapel Hill. Down to 8, Murphy.
Nice
left
pass.
open is Hoover for 3, and he gets it to fall.
What a pass. That's why you can't help.
Johnson off the mark with the 3, and possession will stay with North Carolina.
This is what's so difficult about Wofford is the spacing. All these guys can shoot. A nice pass, Murphy. Gets from Pegram, and then what a kick out for three with 5 seconds on the shot clock.
Johnson will go to the free throw line. Wofford in this second half shooting 4 of 6 from beyond the arc. And granted, there is a drastic drop-off between McGee's three-point shooting and Hoover's, about 17%. And yet Nathan Hoover able to extend the lead, a 13-point difference in this half for Wofford.
Well, he had, on that last shot, what I was talking about earlier, he had space and time. The defense collapsed on Murphy, and a great unselfish pass out to Hoover. And that's how Wofford plays. Again, they make 11 threes a game. That's what they do. They just didn't do it in the first half.
57-45, Wofford leading the defending champs in North Carolina. Off the screen. Hoover and Brooks reaching up high. Past Pegram for the rebound. And now fouls. Manley was trying to grab the offensive rebound.
Well, you look at this lineup out there now. You got a lot of freshmen for North Carolina, along with Cam Johnson, who is coming back playing his first minutes of the season. So Coach Williams taking, outside of Johnson, all of his experience off the floor.
Manley, who had an impressive performance against Tennessee, 10 points in 19 minutes, has been held in check tonight. Meanwhile, Pegram with his third foul for Wofford. For North Carolina, their last non-conference loss at home. You got to go back to 2014 against Iowa. Tar Heels have won 23 straight at home as Hoover knocks down the jumper. Back into the hands of Felton. And Brooks will go to the line.
Nothing easy. And Pegram, you mentioned, that's now his fourth. He's going to get all of his money out of all 5 of those fouls. But he is challenging everything at the basket again. I mean, there's just no layups. They are Wofford not giving up anything at their basket. You got to earn everything.
And now the veterans will come off the bench for Roy Williams. Barry along with Kenny Williams and Penson. May's going to be checking in momentarily. Only Barry the one in double figures for North Carolina tonight.
Well, and Frank, I don't think it's not necessarily about their offense, although Wofford has defended them really well. They have to get stops. I mean, they have to force these shooters to put the ball on the floor and be creators. There's just been too much space in the last 5 minutes.
North Carolina's got 12 turnovers in this game. They had 12 turnovers in that first half against Tennessee.
And North Carolina has gone small. So Luke May going to play at that 5. Surrounded by 4 perimeter players.
They work it down to Jackson with 8 on the shot clock. Floater in the lane. May able to draw the foul. Wofford with a 12-point advantage on North Carolina as it's Holiday Hoops presented by Zales on ESPN.
What makes the...
Their offense has been loud, but I have to tell you, it's their defense that has really carried the night. Carolina shooting only 33% from the field. Wofford has defended their paint, protect their basket, and they've rebounded the basketball, and then they have been deliberate and efficient on that offensive end. And I want to pay this guy a little bit of love. He's been at Wofford this is his 16th year. And, you know, all these coaches at high programs get their love. This is a guy, there is nobody who gets more out of less than Mike Young. He is an unbelievable coach, and I hope one of the takeaways that people have tonight about that guy right there is how schooled his team has been in defending Carolina's stuff. You and I saw it last night, John. They went over and over the secondary break. A lot of the sets that North Carolina runs, and his team has executed here tonight. 255
wins over those 16 years for Mike Young. Still looking for their first win over a ranked opponent. They beat Georgia Tech at home earlier this year. As Jackson one-on-one in the low post wins the battle against May. How about Jackson tonight? 16 points on 7 of 13 shooting. May, top of the arc, gets the three to fall, and North Carolina needed that.
And now they need stops.
Just the second made field goal of the night for the junior Luke May, averaging a double-double on the season. Great vision to Jackson off the feed from Donovan Thiem Love.
What a pass.
Off the give, Brooks. Off the mark, May the rebound. So many options, Chris, for North Carolina. Who's got to be the option, though?
Well, that guy's a good start. That guy late in games, there's nobody better than Joel Berry.
He, along with Brooks, the only players in double figures tonight for North Carolina. McGee guarded by Williams in the corner. Forced up the three, and Johnson pushing ahead for the Tar Heels. And bailed out by a foul against Jackson.
Yeah. I think it was on McGee. But look at this pass. Oh my goodness, no vision. Delicious. And Cam Jackson making a living, playing off those guards, finding open space. I mean, this is Wofford getting into Carolina's paint and creating offense.
Luke May at the free throw line. Just 57% on the season. And coming up on New Year's Day, it's the College Football Playoff semifinals. Number 2, Oklahoma, and number 3, Georgia, battling in the Rose Bowl from Pasadena. And then the All-State Sugar Bowl, number 1, Clemson, and number 4, Alabama, doing battle on New Year's Day. 5 p.m. Eastern, and then at 8:45 p.m. Eastern on ESPN, and streaming live on the Watch ESPN app. Hoover off the feed from Brooks. Berry. And he'll go to the free throw line.
And here's a drive again by Berry. He's so good at coming away with something. He's not just in there to kind of throw up, he's in there to get points, be it by finishing or by getting to the foul line. So many young guards, they get in there and they just want to get their shot off. They just want to somehow throw it up there to the basket. The really good finishers and players, they're there to get points.
And that's what Roy Williams made mention of in the shoot-around. He said if we're going to go deep and make a run at another national championship, it's got to be our veteran backcourt that's going to have to take us there. lost control of it, and it goes to North Carolina. And Teddy Valentine, after conferring with the officiating crew, switches calls.
Reversed it. Yeah, I mean, it was blocked, so unless it hit Hoover when he was on the ground, I think they ended up getting the call right.
Chris, you almost get the sense this is the point in time of this game where it's gut check time for Wofford.
Well, and it's also gut check time for North Carolina. And I go back to the point we made earlier about Barry, but you can extend that to this entire team. There's not a lot that this veteran group has not seen, in particular this backcourt, in Pinson and Barry and Williams to an extent.
North Carolina, despite only shooting 39% in this second half, trail Wofford by 6. And May and Barry have been the answer, having scored the last 10 for the Tar Heels, but the turnovers continue to mount, make that now 13 for North Carolina.
It was the right idea, just on the wrong page. Pinson and Barry. Look at that, 16 points off of North Carolina turnovers tonight.
McGee with the 15-foot jumper. And again, May underneath with the rebound. May off the mark. Pinson nearly had a handle on it. Goes back to Wofford.
You know, one of the other things that Wofford has done, I mean, look, there's two things you have to do when you play North Carolina. You got to take them out of transition, and you got to rebound the basketball. One of the other things Wofford has done tonight is they have gotten back and set their defense. They have not allowed North Carolina many transition opportunities.
Wofford has missed their last 5 shots, but still hold to a 6-point lead. And a turnover that takes us to break. Wofford and North Carolina in a battle test from Chapel Hill. Matching up with James Harden and the Rockets, who have won 14 straight. Then we'll get you out to Oracle for Lonzo and the Lakers, squaring off against KD and the Warriors. Also excited to provide a non-traditional camera view of the game, including insight and analysis from various ESPN NBA commentators on ESPN News and the ESPN app. Coverage 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. 7:40 left to go for North Carolina to try to get back against Wofford. What's got to be the game plan for Roy Williams?
Well, you got to figure out this zone now. Wofford comes out in his zone. First time we have seen the 2-3 zone tonight. And a nice adjustment by North Carolina. Tough shot there by Luke May.
Luke May now with another double-double, 12 points, 11 rebounds, his 7th double-double of the season. And North Carolina has trimmed down the lead to 4. Murphy drives the lane, and the freshman comes up. And that looks to be Cam Jackson, the junior, coming up slow.
What a finish by Storm Murphy. A storm is rising. And a little bit of an elbow there from Jackson. You know, that last possession, a gamble out of the timeout by Mike Young going to the 2-3 zone. His man-to-man has been so good tonight.
The issue for Roy Williams in North Carolina going back to Sunday against Tennessee was this layoff of 11 days. And they had to take a full stretch against Tennessee. Only led that game by 91 seconds. But for the Tar Heels tonight, Chris, what has been the biggest issue you have seen against Wofford?
Well, I don't think they came into the game ready for a fist fight. Again, we always think games are determined in the second half or late. This game started early. Cam Jackson had 3 post-ups. Carolina turned it over 3 straight possessions. They didn't come in here to defend Wofford tonight, and Wofford brought the fight to them.
Barry 15 points on the night. Off to May in the corner, and he knocks down the three.
It's also worth mentioning that that Tennessee win is one of the best wins of this season. And so I think a team coming off a road win like that, a little bit deflated here against an opponent they feel they should beat.
Wow. And McGee with the answer. The high-arcing three for Wofford. 25 points for Fletcher McGee, the junior out of Orlando, Florida. And how about Barry with the answer for the Tar Heels? Barry, along with May, have scored the last 18 points for North Carolina, who trailed by 3. And Williams with the reach-in.
I want to see Fletcher McGee shoot a wide-open shot and see if he's as comfortable as he is with a hand in his face. And then how about Joel Barry responding as he has done so many times.
And the turnover. Johnson.
A good look from Johnson, and how about the defensive rebound by Derek Brooks, snatching it out of the air.
McGee off the mark, but Storm Murphy the offensive rebound. And now a tie-up. And possession will go to North Carolina.
I'd feel guilty in my driveway with my son taking some of the shots that Fletcher McGee takes live here in the Dean Dome. I mean, he is limitless when it comes to when he will pull it.
I'll say this, there's a great comparison on how high he shoots that three and that 14-foot Christmas tree in your living room.
Yeah, dude, darn right. Or that Fisher-Price basket that I dominate on in the living room.
North Carolina on a 13-5 run. Have been tested throughout this game by Wofford. Williams. That one in and out. Had the game winner against Tennessee just off the mark. McGee draws the double team. Here's Brooks with the left hand off glass. Barry going up tempo and answers for North Carolina.
What an early attack by Barry. Mike Young yelling at his team to get back, and Barry takes advantage.
Jackson. Great defense on the baseline by Luke May. And a foul that'll go against Brooks. Christmas come early. Wofford and North Carolina in a battle tonight.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of
SoCon. Potential upset for Furman over Tennessee. And how about Wofford giving all they have to North Carolina, 70-67. Chris, how does Wofford play out this 3:58?
Well, they have to get a shot each time down. You can't turn it over. You can't have bad possessions. Be deliberate, get what you want. This is one of the areas, the foul line, where Carolina has cornered the market. They are plus 12 at the foul line.
Cam Johnson making his season debut. 9 points, including a perfect 6 of 6 from the free throw line. The transfer from Print had the torn meniscus knee surgery, an added benefit for Roy Williams, who trailed by 1 to Wofford. Hoover, deep three. three. Why not?
Yeah. Oh, and Johnson fell down. And there was no help away from Hoover. He steps into it.
8 points for Hoover. The second leading three-point shooter on this team behind McGee. Swatted away by Jackson. Another block for the junior.
That's 6 blocks tonight for Wofford.
And let's not forget, Chris, this was a team in Wofford that beat Georgia Tech at home. So they've understand the trial and tribulations of the ACC.
Well, and look, North Carolina and Georgia Tech are night and day. No offense to Georgia Tech. I mean, this on the road against a top 5 team would be massive.
Johnson, the reach and foul against Hoover.
But to your point, Brick, a win like that certainly gives you confidence. And when you walk in with a guy like Fletcher McGee and Hoover with a big 3 there as Johnson fell down. But when you walk in with a guy like McGee, I mean, that's the trump card. Like, you feel like you can compete with anybody. And the way that Jackson has played tonight has been enormous.
Jackson, Hoover playing with 3 fouls. Brooks, the senior, with 4. As Johnson into double figures. Roy Williams wanted to see what they would get out of Cam Johnson. I think they got a lot more than they thought going into this game, making a season debut.
Yes, they have.
Under 3 minutes to go, Wofford the lead on the defending national champs. 4th all-time meeting between these two programs. Hoover, blocked from behind from Brooks.
Nice job getting back again and setting their defense.
May out to Barry for 3. That one rattled in and out.
And what a defensive rebound. Every defensive rebound from here on out becomes so big.
Stump left open for 3. Another one and done possession for Wofford. Jackson just grabbed it out of the hands of Brooks.
Wow.
I mean, that's a big boy there. 6'8", 245.
That was like Debo pulling it out of his hands.
McGee off balance. Back ironed it, and May hit by Jackson on his way down.
Silly. This is like Debo stealing a bicycle. Cam Jackson, he has been so tough tonight, but a silly foul on the other end with 1:22 left. Your defense has been so good. You allow North Carolina to march 94 feet to take free throws.
63-61 inside. Keep you posted.
All right, Ravi. Meanwhile, Wofford looking for their first ever win over a top 25 opponent. And Luke May, who had struggled in the first half, seemingly righting the ship in the second half for North Carolina. Knocks down some critical free throws. 13 points in the second half for May, who's got his 7th double-double of the season. And quickly Hoover, on that full-court pressure by North Carolina, calls a timeout. A 1-point game, 73-72 Wofford with the lead.
This holiday, what are you going to give? Give 30 more seconds on your Peloton. Give it your best morning, noon, or night. Give it up for New York's best instructors live. Give them something to see. Give yourself 1,000 other riders to push you to the top. Give them the one thing that will make them give it all. This holiday, give the gift of Peloton.
New life in the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill as number 5 North Carolina, the defending champs, have been tested throughout in this heavyweight bout, it felt like, against Wofford. Came out fighting, Chris, and here's North Carolina down by 1.
Yep, they got the full court press. Wofford's got to inbound it. It starts with that. Hoover taking the ball out of bounds, the most important guy on the floor right now.
Keep in mind, in that victory Sunday against Tennessee, North Carolina in that final minute rattled off a 9-0 run to beat the Vols. McGee taking it to May and winning the battle.
That was easy. And like you said, McGee right at May.
Barry with the offensive foul.
Barry trying to be aggressive here, get it done, and who steps up? Cam Jackson has been the heart and soul of this Wofford team tonight. He's brought the toughness.
A preseason all-SoCon pick was the junior Jackson. North Carolina only 3 fouls in this second half. Hoover with under a minute to go has to get it across the midline, and he does. Shot clock to 7. McGee. Stubb throws up a 3. And a shot clock violation. And that'll be the 10th turnover against Wofford.
Well, you got the stop you needed if you're North Carolina. And with 32 seconds here, you obviously don't need a 3. You get a post for May or get a guard attacking the basket, finish, and force Wofford to have an inbound against your pressure.
What is the plan of attack?
Carolina made huge plays at the end of that game.
Now Williams, who leads the ACC in three-point shooting at just about 55% on the season. Option for North Carolina on this possession has to be who, Chris?
You got to allow Barry to create.
May with a chance, back ironed it. There's Brooks, and the reach in by May.
You know, they end up going to May, and it was an open shot. And I said earlier, you don't need a 3. I would have allowed Barry to create. But Roy Williams won a lot more games than I have. But again, you're still fine. Wofford going to have to inbound against that pressure.
Now Wofford in a situation where they've got the 3-point lead, only 14 fouls against North Carolina. And let's keep in mind as well, Chris, North Carolina has been dominant at home. They have won 23 straight coming into this matchup against Wofford. Their last non-conference loss at home for Roy Williams and company going to go back to 2014 against Iowa. And now that's the 16th foul committed by North Carolina.
Well, that's one of the problems when you play without fouling. If you're down late in the game, you got to work yourself or work your opponent into their bonus.
And a timeout on the floor with just over 17 seconds to go. As we send it back to the studio, Carl Ravitch.
Hi, Brick. Because this one is taking its time, and it's a great one, we got to remind everybody that on ESPN News, the third game of our triple-header, K-State, Washington State, is now underway. Obviously, when our game ends, we'll flip everybody to that game on ESPN2. Back to the conclusion. Wofford looking for that upset over Carolina, John.
All right, Ravi. Yeah, Wofford has never beaten a ranked team, 0 for 23. And the question is, for Coach Young, how does Wofford play out the remaining 17 seconds?
Well, you've got to get the ball in the hands of your free throw shooters. McGee, obviously, or Murphy if you can. Hoover is 90% as well. One of those 3 guys has to end up with the ball. And Hoover going to inbound here on the side out.
And the last person you want to foul is Fletcher McGee, a perfect 32 of 32 from the free throw line.
Well, and how about this? Trevor Stump going to the line has only taken 2 free throws on the season. Now, he made them both. But this is, for a guy who's only been to the line twice, you're in Chapel Hill, North Carolina with a 3-point lead on the defending national champions.
I know you're a movie buff. This has a Hollywood ending written to it. Extends the lead to 4 for Wofford. Stump started off the year on the bench, has inserted himself into the starting rotation. And maybe just knocked down the biggest free throws of his life.
Wow.
I mean, you talk about pressure. A 5-point lead for Wofford. Bering's got to throw one up. Off the mark. And a foul that goes against Pinson.
Well, just poor execution on the last 2 offensive possessions for North Carolina. You know, didn't get the May shot again was open. I didn't think you needed a 3 there. And then on that last possession, if you're Barry, you just have to attack. Wofford's not going to foul you.
Derek Brooks to the line to seal it for Wofford.
Wow, I'll tell you what, this Wofford team is tough, man. They showed a lot of heart from the tip to the finish.
There's a reason why Roy Williams said he was scared to death of Wofford. Closing seconds. Barry with the 3, and that leaves .7 left on the clock. Go back to 2015 when Wofford lost by 20 here. And tonight, they orchestrate one of the biggest upsets of the college basketball season, knocking off the defending champs in North Carolina in Chapel Hill.
What a moment. What a win.
Mike Young and Wofford, for the first time in program history, has knocked off a ranked team.
You know, again, prominent coaches at power programs, they get so much love. A guy like Mike Young, in his 16th season at Wofford, has beaten Georgia Tech this season and now just beat North Carolina in Chapel Hill.